Welcome back. Happy to be joined now by Michael Chamberlain from Turf Paradise. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good. How was your holiday?
Fantastic, and followed up with some very good racing out at Turf Paradise this weekend. And I can't pick a winner, so I know you're going to ask me for picks today, but I've been 5 deep in the first leg of the pick 5 like the last 3 days and haven't gotten out of the first leg. So we're struggling, but we're going to get into the new year's looking up. So looking at the positives.
I have to admit, my handicapping hasn't been that bad, but the past 2 or 3 weeks, my betting is just, and they're two related, but separate things of the game. And so my handicapping, I'm kind of doing okay, but I'm just zigging when I'm zagging as far as making the bets, which is maybe more frustrating when you're picking them and you're just not collecting money. That's certainly, but my feeling is always, it always turns around, so with the new year, we'll make a resolution to be a little more optimistic, I guess, and see how that works out. I got to ask you, over the past few days, I checked Twitter accounts of various racetracks and whatnot, and I was always kind of laughing because it seemed like last week at a lot of the racetracks, Santa Claus would show up in the morning working out some horses. Did Santa Claus make an appearance at Turf Paradise?
Well, I haven't seen old Saint Nick around these parts, but then again, I haven't made the morning appearances for the workouts in a while. But I think I saw him walking around on the track apron. So he wasn't working the horses out, but I think I saw him out there maybe on the last week just before the big day when he was getting warmed up to get on that sleigh ride. But I think Santa was maybe staying in the colder climes a little bit more, but I think he made a little brief appearance, like a cameo, in the movie.
Yeah, and that's exactly where you'd think he'd be. The week before, just taking a little time off. If he's going to get a little rest and relaxation before the big night, where else do you want to be but some warm weather down at Turf Paradise? So it doesn't surprise me. All right, let's take a look. You mentioned you had a nice weekend, and you had a couple of nice stakes this past Saturday. And before we get to today's action, I wanted to touch on those. We're going to take a look first up at the Lost in the Fog, which was for 2-year-olds going 6.5 this past Saturday, and it will be the number 7 Outdated. Now, I looked at this race, and first thing I always do when I look at these Turf Paradise stakes, who's training? Who else but Robertino Diodoro? But then I thought, oh, wow, the horse went off at 7-2. You got over $9 on a Diodoro horse. But then, Michael, I've been watching Turf Paradise long enough at this point to know that if he goes off at that much of a price, there has to be a shorter Diodoro price that he beat. And sure enough, in this race, there was Grand Full Moon, who was going to wind up running third in here as the 4-5 choice. That was the other Robertino Diodoro. But as we watch the stretch run, it'll be number 7 Outdated getting it done in here, and getting it done pretty easily.
Well, and the thing that Grand Full Moon unfortunately had in that race was a wide trip. If you look in the comments in the chart, I believe he was quoted as being 5 wide throughout, and he never got hold of the racetrack, just being well to the outside the whole time. And Outdated actually had a fantastic trip. He sat right off the leader, shaking Schiller throughout the majority of the race, and was able to make a really nice move and get the lead and win very handily. But the other Diodoro horse in there, Grand Full Moon, just got a bit of a bad trip, and I would definitely keep an eye on that one next time out, because the horse got sent off as the betting favorite, as you said, and just didn't get the benefit of a good run around the racetrack.
The winner, though, I think is a decent little 2-year-old. I mean, we're looking at, other than the stakes race that he attempted over at Santa Anita, a couple of wins and a second-place finish now. So I think this is a nice little horse, too, Outdated.
Yes, absolutely. No question about it. It was certainly impressive in that victory in the Lost in the Fog.
Also, this past Saturday, Arizona Juvenile Fillies. And who wins it but Robertino Diodoro? However, 2-1, not the favorite, and the other, the favorite, the other horse in here, was not a Diodoro horse, but it was a pretty good-looking horse coming in. The number 7 Perfect Style came in with a couple of day-late wins. Unfortunately, at 4-5, Perfect Style will wind up running third in here, but it is number 2, Freaking Amazing, as we watch the stretch run that does get it done. Big day for Robertino Diodoro.
Absolutely, and Freaking Amazing. I said in the race call, I said she was, because that was a very nice performance and won very impressively in there. And Perfect Style had those 2 big wins in New Mexico, and the trainer there is Bart Hone, who was a very familiar name to the folks here around Turf Paradise. Used to have a stable of horses here at Turf. Has kind of moved his business over to New Mexico now, more or less. But he comes back in every once in a while, and he had Scott Stevens riding Perfect Style, and And Scott's having another fantastic meet out here at Turf Paradise. He's second in the jockey standings, right behind Giovanni Franco. So I think it's going to be a very interesting ding-dong battle between those two as we get closer to the end of the season here coming up. It's already in April. I mean, I can't believe we're already getting ready to start thinking about, well, it's only 4 months away.
Yeah, really. And you know, you got to think about the future when you watch these 2-year-olds. So a couple of nice 2-year-old stakes races this past Saturday with a couple of horses that may be worth watching going forward. All right, let's get at some thoughts on this afternoon. First off, for folks who are playing Turf Paradise for Tuesday, what's the weather look like?
Well, we're going to have a sunny day today. It's supposed to be a little on the chillier side for us here in Phoenix. It's only going to be in the mid-50s. So temperature's a little bit on the lower side. Tomorrow, I know we're supposed to have some pretty bad weather coming into the area. We're racing tomorrow, not racing on New Year's Day. But I think we may end up with a wet racetrack tomorrow, which actually it might be interesting because we have a Pick 5 carryover today of $9,800, and it really could have been much more because on Sunday, the last race on the program was photo finish between the only horse in the race that could pay off the Pick 5 and a 15-1 long shot that would have caused a carryover on Sunday. So we could have been looking at a really healthy carryover coming into racing today at $10,000. Certainly nothing to sneeze at as far as the carryover is concerned. So we're looking for fast conditions, just a little bit on the cool side today here at Turf.
All right, sounds good. And I took a look at Turf this morning a little earlier on the handicapping show. So we'll have one of those meetings of the mind in here, and we'll kick things off taking a look at race number 5, calendar condition claimer, $3,000 tags. They're going to go 6.5. And Michael in here, I had 957. I put the Boss on top in that this one is in some good form, but I mentioned I use this with some trepidation because I often say, particularly these lower levels, these horses may need a start or two to kind of adjust to the next condition up, and that's the fact here. This horse went through an N1 calendar condition last time, now moves up to N2. I think in the form this horse is in, probably this isn't going to be a significant jump and will be competitive in here, but I do use it on top of some trepidation. Domination in the second spot. I think the numbers fit pretty well, and we're getting a little class relief on the move from Sunland and Zia, and then Pure Trickin', I think is interesting on the cutback off the claim. But how did you see race number 5?
I had the same top two. I just flipped them in the other order. I like the 5 Domination on top, and the trainer there is Miguel Silva, a man who has won the training title here within the last few years before it became Diodoro Downs. You know, Domination is a horse with very good connections. The sires, Maria's Mon, certainly nothing to sneeze at there. Ran third with the better company at Sunland last time out on December 13th, and did put up some decent performances at Zia Park, November 10th. Finished second there at the longer sprint distance of 6.5 furlongs, which he gets once again here. So I'm going to go with the 5 Domination. And the other thing about, you mentioned the Boss there, the other thing about the Boss is he just ran last week. And so they had been kind of spacing him a little bit. He had a 2-week break before that race, and he ran 8 days prior to that. So he's kind of coming back on a quick turnaround, and Scholar Whiteshield in the saddle. Certainly one to use. I'm using both horses in the Pick 5 play, but I just flipped them in the other order. I have the 5 on top of the 9.
All right, you've got 5-9. I've got 9-5, so maybe a little exacta play in there. 6th race today. And, Michael, I'll be really interested to see if we're in similar thoughts on this race, because I said when I handicapped earlier, starting right with the first race, there are a number of races today that, for me, were very tough because they featured horses who seem better on turf, and you just don't know, will they hold up their numbers moving over to dirt? This is one of those races, but I did 4-3-6. I used Cookie L'Amour on the speed, and this horse showed a little affinity for the dirt last time in an off-the-turf race. So I thought on that with the speed, Cookie L'Amour was interesting. Crazy for Kugel underneath, another one that was in that same off-the-turf race last time, so showed some ability on the dirt, and then Vertical Lift. One of those that most recently has been on the turf and on the numbers fits. You have to go back a little bit, but you see some okay races on the dirt, so I threw Vertical Lift in as well. But I really kind of scratched my head. I said 4-3-6. How did you see the 6th?
I ended up taking the 3-horse Crazy for Kugel in the top spot, and it's one of those where the horse just has run very well this season. 2 victories on the turf, as we mentioned, and he ran second in that race last time out, finishing behind Cookie L'Amour. But I think that second try on the dirt, coming back here today, I think this horse is poised for another big effort. Has always seemed to give out very good efforts here at Turf Paradise, whether on the turf or on the dirt, really doesn't have too many poor performances. So I'm going to go ahead and take the 3 Crazy for Kugel, especially with a little bit of a price there at 6-1. Juan Gutierrez riding for trainer Jeff Bett, another guy that is usually at the top of the standings here in Phoenix.
Sounds good. And like I say, there were a few races like that in there today that were a little bit tough because horses making that move from turf to dirt, and it was hard to know what to do. But we'll see what happens this afternoon. Michael, as always, we appreciate the visit. Certainly to you, everyone out there at Turf Paradise, a Happy New Year. We'll talk to you again next week.